Welcome back to Combat Sports Weekly. This is the part of the show where we take a look at national and local headlines, a lot on both of them, so let's jump into the national ones. Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor has been rescheduled. The fight will take place December 12th at the MGM Grand. Unfortunately, this fight, a lot of people were hoping it may be a headliner at Cowboy Stadium, but again, December 12th for the undisputed featherweight title. Interim champion McGregor against the full all-out champion of this belt, Aldo. And the fight, everybody's looking forward to. It's potential of generating, obviously, over 1 million pay-per-view by seeing that what McGregor did on his own last time. Jump right into the next one. Another guy that's insanely favored, 80-1 favorite. Floyd Mayweather will be facing Andre Berto in what's Mayweather's last fight on that Showtime CBS deal. For those wanting to know what pay-per-view pricing for that September 12th bout, which will also take place at the MGM Grand, you're looking at $65 standard definition, $75 HD, nowhere near the price that it was for that Pacquiao-Mayweather fight, but nonetheless, it's going to cost you a little change to see Floyd finish off his Showtime contract. A lot of people don't feel that if he does get that win and stays undefeated, it won't be his last fight. Another fight that took place this past weekend, UFC Nashville, Glover Teixeira against St. Preux. Glover moves up to number 3 at in the light heavyweight rankings. Despite the fact losing his last 2 fights, he defeated St. Preux there, 3rd round, rear naked choke. We're going to have highlights from that one and, of course, a few other fights and what I felt was a pretty entertaining card, so make sure you guys hang out for that. And more national news, Cris Cyborg and Ronda Rousey's camps have been going at it. We heard Tito Ortiz, Cyborg's wrestling coach, of course, say that she has been offered the fight to actually take on Ronda Rousey in December. UFC is denying that. Obviously, a fight that everyone's looking forward to. They actually have odds to this fight right now. Cyborg a little over 2-1 favorite. I think that's, or underdog, I should say. I think that's the closest anyone will get to essentially being a favorite against Ronda Rousey, who, of course, is dominating the division and the sport altogether. More local news, Carlos Condit, former interim welterweight champion, according to several media outlets, will be fighting Robbie Lawler for the welterweight title in Australia. A lot of talk had been going on for weeks about this fight potentially taking place, and now apparently it's set, according to a lot of media outlets. UFC isn't, maybe they're too busy putting out Conor McGregor news, that they haven't officially came out and just said the fight's going down. Another fight that's taking place actually this weekend, Lucien Boutet out of Canada will be facing Andrea De Luisa. Lucien Boutet, for those that don't know, a very popular name out there in Canada, especially in Montreal, Quebec, where he's based out of. He's originally from Romania. The fight will take place at the Bell Center. Expect about 10,000 fans for that PBC on NBC Sports debut. So that's going to do it for our national headlines. Let's jump into the local ones. A lot of fights going down. Local news. King of the Cage grind taking place Saturday night here in Albuquerque. Again, these guys are on fire. They just had an event last week down in Socorro, Texas, so make sure you guys check them out. Always a ton of fun. It's Sheraton Uptown. Any good seat is going to be a good seat whenever you go here with the local, whether it be the casinos or the hotels, but Sheraton Uptown, King of the Cage grind is going down. Make sure you guys give them some love. And a lot of more local news. Tony Valdez will be fighting and headlining a card against Gilberto Mendoza. Check out swfight.com. We got a story with Tony Valdez. The weigh-in will take place at the DoubleTree downtown. Doors open at noon there for the weigh-in. 2 p.m. weigh-ins is when they're going to take place. The fights itself, Saturday night at the Albuquerque Convention Center. So make sure you guys go check out either action. It's not a whole lot. This is one of the driest years that we've had in about 5 with boxing. Only 1 card has taken place. This is the second boxing card to take place in the year. Another Albuquerquean local boxer, Hector Munoz, will be fighting former champion Carlos Molina August 15th on that Boutet Dulisa PBC on NBC Sports undercard. The fight, as of right now, is not going to be televised. It can potentially serve as a swing bout, so if you have a couple of early stoppages, maybe they'll run that Hector Munoz versus Carlos Molina. Molina, again, one of the top fighters in that division, so maybe a pick-up win here for Hector Munoz against a former world champion. So one can hope we kind of revive the scene. And this weekend, obviously, Landon Venata was supposed to fight on the RFA card. That fight did not take place. So, it's unfortunate for Landon Venata, a guy that's 6-0. Hopefully he continue that undefeated streak here on another card. So, unfortunate for Landon, of course, fighting out of Jackson's MMA. Another guy that was victorious this past weekend and looked extremely dominant, Ray Borg, defeated Jean Ed on Fox Sports 1 via unanimous decision. Borg actually moves up to number 13 on the UFC flyweight rankings. He drew a lot of praise from the Fox Sports broadcast, and they were talking about him potentially getting a title shot in 2016. I mean, the way he's dominating these guys, I don't see why not. But that'll do it for the local headlines. Let's jump right into the highlights. Back to the UFC Nashville card. Amanda Nunes was a tornado, just a machine in this fight against Sarah McMahon. Nunes actually moved up 3 spots in that bantamweight division with this win, up to number 4. One of the largest leaps that we've seen as of late in that division. Just extremely overwhelming Sarah McMahon. Look at that. It was just too much power, too much strength from Amanda Nunes, who's looking stupendous in the last couple of fights. And there you have the stoppage here in a couple of seconds. There you go. 2:07 mark, first round. Move on to this fight. Michael Johnson, a lot of people, I think it's unanimous at this point that he got robbed in this fight against Arush. And what appeared to be a very good performance from him, and a bad split decision was awarded to his opponent. You have Michael Johnson just staying the distance. Did a lot of switching between that southpaw and orthodox stance, but he was very effective. And his opponent did have his moments, but Michael Johnson, we'll talk about this in our rundown a little bit more of MMA judging, but just extremely surprising. Here's the main event. Glover Teixeira against St. Preux. Decent start from St. Preux, but the 35-year-old man, Teixeira, with the technical submission at the end of this one in the 3rd round. Just too much power. St. Preux, of course, fighting in front of his fellow Tennesseans there in Nashville, but I mean, he didn't get to tap to this one. He was just put straight out. He did not want to tap, as you can see there. It was just too late for a tap. He was out. Teixeira wins. This guy, Derek Brunson, fighting out of Albuquerque here against just overwhelming his opponents as of late. It's Samza Alvi here. The first round TKO. Brunson moved up 2 spots in that middleweight division for those of you guys that haven't checked out the rankings this week, but he was just a machine. I mean, there was no stopping him this evening. He moves to 14-3 there. TKO first round. We move to more local highlights here, the little extended version of it. Cynthia Arceo, who's a beast out of an amateur out of El Paso against Alicia Zapitella. All it took was 9 seconds. Look at that. Little grainy footage, but nonetheless, look at that knee. Out. She's a very exciting fighter, so if you guys get to see her here in the Albuquerque area or down there in El Paso, Texas, make sure you guys check her out. She's a product of a Shane Schumann down in El Paso, so a lot of entertaining fighters coming out of Schumann's camp. That'll do it for the headlines and highlights segment. Coming up after the break is guest Nick Urso. He'll also be joining us on the roundtable. Make sure you guys stick around for that. Catch you after the break.